What's happening, y'all? Listen, I wanted to drop this video real quick because I feel like it's going to help some of you guys in your healing journey. But first, I want to say thank you guys so much for all of the continued love and support y'all show to the channel. We have been growing like crazy the last month or so. So to all of my new subs, I absolutely appreciate you guys for just being here, sharing the journey with me, sharing the entire experience with me, and then also for jumping in the comment section and leaving your feedback. And to all of my day ones, y'all know I love y'all, man, and appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for continuing to come back. And like I said, also finding value still in the content and sharing your feedback with me and giving me so much encouragement to keep the channel going. When I first started this channel, it was mainly because I it wasn't a lot of outlets for me to share my story where people understood me and things like that when I first experienced like coming out of the discard and started my healing journey and things like that. And there wasn't a lot of people that were sympathetic to my situation and all of that kind of stuff at the very beginning. So once I started getting the knowledge and once I started, understanding what I was dealing with, I felt like I needed to pay that forward, and I felt like it was part of my assignment, from God, you know, to actually jump on here and help somebody else get through this because I know it's extremely difficult, and it's even more difficult when you have people that don't understand what you have gone through, or you have people out there that are victim blaming and saying that you should have known better or you should have chose better or any of that kind of stuff. Like, it's hard enough going through and dealing with the betrayal of somebody doing, what these people have done to us. But then on the flip side, it's like you have to fight that battle all over again. It's like almost retouching the same wound over and over and over when you're trying to explain your situation to people that just don't get it. So I started the channel because I get it. Like, I went through it, I experienced it, and I wanted to be a voice for those of you guys who are newly coming into this awareness, or even some of you guys that have, um, you've gotten the awareness a long time ago, but you're still struggling to get past the situation because it's not an easy thing. Like, I came out of my discard like 2019, 2020. So, you know what I'm saying? I have been in my healing journey ever since then, you know what I'm saying? And I know that this takes time. This takes a lot of strength. This takes a lot of courage. This takes a lot of just gumption on your own part to get through everything that just happened to you. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, I wanted to just come on and be an encouragement to some of you other guys that have experienced the same thing and don't feel like there is any other people that are out there that have experienced this. Like, I know a lot of you guys have tapped in with me and been like, oh my God, I'm so glad you started the channel because I didn't know about this, and you guys, and I appreciate you guys finding value in the content because that's what I do this for. You know what I'm saying? I do this to help other people get to the other side. And I also wanted to, strengthen my own personal skills as far as public speaking and things like that. So, I have been on several different journeys at the same time with this. I absolutely appreciate, all of you guys for just bearing with me. This is not something that I do professionally or anything like that. I am just a guy that have a lot of life experience and I've been through a lot of different things. And I feel like, my life experiences, I feel like there's book smarts, there's street smarts, there's a lot of different, ways to gain knowledge and gain wisdom. So I feel like the wisdom that I have gained over the years through my life experiences is valuable to people, especially people who have gone through, really difficult times in life, that kind of thing. So that's what I started this channel for. I hope you guys, you know, like I said, find value in that and can appreciate that. And I'm gonna just go ahead and get straight into the content because, like I said, this video is gonna be a little bit long. It's a lot of hot topics and a lot of hot points that I want to touch on. but I think it's a very valuable video. So this video right here, we're going to talk about fear, and I feel like it's important to talk about fear because a lot of us are either stuck in the narcissistic relationship, can't get out of it due to fear, and it's a lot of different triggers to fear. So, if you're in a violent situation, definitely, what I'm saying, fear is one of those things that is, you know, is present in your situation. You know what I'm saying? But there's a lot of different types of fears. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of fears that people have. Like some people, fear starting over. Some people fear splitting their family apart. Some people fear, it's a lot of different fears when we are dealing with toxic situations and things like that. So if y'all see me, looking down at my phone, it's because I just get on here and I just get to rapping with y'all, but every once in a while we have a topic where I feel like it's important not to miss certain things. So this is one of those things where I actually jotted down some hot points that I just didn't want to skip over. So if y'all see me looking down, and I'm just actually looking at my other phone because I put some notes in there of stuff that I just didn't want to skip over. But first, I want to talk about just fear in itself. And a lot of people fear. You know what I'm saying? That's one of the reasons why narcissists do the things that they do, because they have a lot of different fears. But us on the flip side, we also have a lot of different fears, and and some of us have, developed behaviors that are there to basically combat the fears that we have been through. But those same behaviors could be some of the reasons why we are in some of the situations that we're in our lives. And I'm gonna kind of explain that to you guys a little bit further. Like, it's a lot to unpack in this video. I hope you guys really can hang in there, because it's not easy. This is going to be like one of my tougher videos because it's not easy to unpack everything that I have to say about fear. I have a lot of experience with fear from a lot of different angles. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I feel like I really wanted to, chop it up and talk to you guys about this, because I see fear in a lot of different ways. You know what I'm saying? So the first thing that I wanted to say about fear was, I feel like fear is a natural response. It's something that we all are supposed to have in us. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that I don't think that it's wrong to have fear. I feel like fear is like a warning system letting you know that there's danger around the corner. There's something that you need to be looking out for. There's something that you need to be leery of, because, and I think that it's naturally put in us so that we can react to certain things in our life appropriately. You know what I'm saying? So I think that fear is actually necessary, but I think how we handle fears, and I think how we handle fears is where a lot of us go wrong, and a lot of us end up in situations in our own personal life where we find ourselves on like the losing end of things. And like I said, it's a lot to unpack in this. But so one of the things that I wanted to talk about is, like I said, I feel like fear is like a natural warning system. And I did a video a while back talking about near-death experiences. And the reason that I did that video was because I was explaining in that video that I had been through so many things as a child. Like, I had been through so many things that like so many fearful situations. And I'm talking about like I lived a very unpredictable life as a child because of the circumstances that were in my environment. You know what I'm saying? I grew up in a pretty rough environment. And then not only did I grow up in a pretty rough environment, I was, unfortunately, I grew up in a household where there was a lot of abuse. There was a lot of physical abuse, and there was also a lot of verbal, situations, and a lot of just emotional trauma and things like that. And then I also grew up with a parent who suffered from extreme addiction. So I had a lot going on, and it was like a lot of unpredictable situations in my life that caused me to handle fear in certain ways. So as a young child, you know, when you are first experiencing these things, you experience that natural, like the fear that I was talking about earlier, as far as your body's censorship, like your body's sensors are going off and telling you, like, listen, something's wrong. So growing up in a unpredictable environment, you're going to have a lot of different fears, because there's always something happening. There's always something like, oh my god, you're like, right now this is happening. Somebody is somebody's in a verbal argument, and like at any given time, like anything could go down. Boom. You know what I'm saying? So, is I grew up in an environment like that, to the point where I knew early that at any moment anything could go down. You know what I'm saying? And I had to be prepared for it. So part of that preparation was overcoming your fears. You know what I'm saying? But there's a healthy way to overcome your fears, and then there's a toxic way to overcome your fears. And if you don't understand that, and of course as a kid I didn't understand that, you know what I'm saying, was I just knew that I didn't want to be in fear anymore. So because, like, as a very young child, I just knew, like, okay, this happened, and I don't never want to feel that fear again. So then you develop like a callus around yourself, and it's almost like the same thing that the narcissist does, because they develop like a callus around themselves as well. The only thing is, like, I kept my empathy. You see what I'm saying? I still had feelings for people and all of that kind of stuff, but I developed like a very hard exterior, you know what I'm saying, as far as, when I was coming up as a child. Like, I still, when, especially in my younger years, I still like experienced fears and things like that. But as I started to get older, and I started to uh, develop like all of these defenses, the same way, like I said, the same way the narcissist does. Once you start like developing all these different defenses and trying to protect yourself, as far as not wanting to be in fear anymore, you can develop you know a toxic braveness, I guess. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of what I had started to develop. What I'm saying, I had started to develop a numbness about myself, like not necessarily in a way of like didn't have feelings for people, but a numbness in a sense of like I wasn't scared of shit. You know what I'm saying? It was like a lot of stuff would happen, and because I had already seen a shootout, and because I had already seen like you know different fights and all of that kind of stuff, I had already seen all of these things real young, just growing up in like a unpredictable environment. I got used to it, and because I had gotten used to like seeing a lot of just a lot of negative stuff, a lot of bad things, I started to kind of like callous over in a sense of like, okay, I'm not gonna be scared of this. I'm not gonna be scared of that. And so you develop, and so it makes you tough. You know what I'm saying? Like, so just like any other kid, just growing up in an urban environment and stuff like that. You develop a sense of toughness and grit about yourself. So I had developed like that sense of grit about myself, but it got to the point why I say it's toxic, or why I say it can be toxic, is because when you start to develop those defenses and all of that kind of stuff, it's like you you also, like I said, start to develop this numbness about yourself, to where you're not scared of anything. So you're starting to put yourself in situations where, because you're not scared, now you're not being logical. You know what I'm saying? If that makes sense. So, like I said, if fear is one of those things where it kind of it should be a trigger to send you into like logical thinking, but toxic fear and toxic, and toxic courage, you know what I'm saying, will have you feeling like, you know what, I done experienced all of this, and I done been through some of the toughest times, and I done been through some of the toughest experiences, and I made it through it. So you start to develop this sense of like, you know, well, I'm not afraid of nothing. I'm not afraid of anything. I'm not, and you become, I developed that, and I had all of these other stuff like going on as far as like being protective. So I was extremely protective of my loved ones, and then I also didn't have a lot of fears because I had already been through a lot of different experiences in life. And one of the things that I did a video, like I said a while back, I had did a video on near death experiences, and in that video I was explaining that I had had so many near death experiences as a young child that I stopped fearing death as I got older. You know what I'm saying? In the sense of, I feared it in the sense of, I wanted to have enough time to accomplish everything that I wanted to accomplish before it came. But I didn't fear it in the sense of like, when things happen in life, like, if there was a situation where, um, if there was a situation where I had a choice of running or fighting, I was always like choosing fighting. You know what I'm saying? I was always like, nah, I ain't running from that. You know what I'm saying? I was always like extremely courageous, even in situations where I knew that it could have been very dangerous for me. You know what I'm saying? But I had just developed this, like, I'm not going to let nothing, I'm not going to let anything put me in fear anymore, that type of thing. So I grew up just having this toughness about myself, to where um, I would just, in my protective nature, I would go up against 10 guys or something like that when I know I couldn't, I, there was no way that I could win that situation. But at the same time, it was like, and it wasn't like in a grandiose sense. It was more so like, I know I can lose this fight, or I know something bad can happen to me, or whatever the case may be. But the things that like I value, as far as like my respect and this, that, and the third, it was like I was putting that over my safety at that, at that time in my life. I was putting those things like over my safety. So um, that's one of, just one of the ways that you can develop a sense of like having toxic fear, where you develop, in a lot of guys that have been through a lot of different things, they develop this exterior where they just, man, I'm not scared of nothing, I ain't scared of shit. And then you start, like, if you stand in that and you actually like nurture that and you feed that, you will develop that. You know what I'm saying? You will actually develop that. So, and the problem with that is, like I said, your decision making is off when you, so now all your decision making is based on your toughness. And so you're attracting stuff into your life that you didn't necessarily have to deal with or go through, because you're thinking from a standpoint, like, that's the energy that you're in. You know what I'm saying? So where energy goes, you know what I'm saying, like where attention flows, energy goes, you know what I'm saying, that type of thing. It's like, so if you give something, enough attention, you will develop, like, energy is going to flow that way. You know what I'm saying? So I had developed this exterior, and like I said, a lot of guys that grow up in the urban community and stuff like that have developed this exterior about themselves. And it's good in a sense to have that fearlessness and all of that kind of stuff, but it also has to come with some type of wisdom. You know what I'm saying? Like, so as a young man, I was fearless but didn't have wisdom. You know what I'm saying? So I would run into certain situations, and like I said, it just, just brave, you know what I'm saying? Just extremely brave. And I like it, you know what I'm saying? Because like even right now, I'm teaching my son, I try to give my son affirmations and things like that. And so, he one day he said, "Daddy, I'm brave." And I said, "You're super brave." And you know what I'm saying? I hit my chest and was like, "You're super brave, man. You're super brave." And and now that's kind of like our little thing. He jumps out and, "Yeah, I'm super brave." And I really enjoy it because I like try to instill that in him. But I don't want, I want him to understand that there are extreme dangers in his life, and it's certain things that can definitely hurt him or take him out of here or any of that kind of stuff. And I just, I want him to be careful in life. You know what I'm saying? And I was kind of like that sacrificial lamb. If I loved you, if I cared about you, if I, you know what I'm saying, I would put myself on the chopping block for a lot of people because I didn't have the same fears that they had. You see what I'm saying? So it came with me making bad decisions and poor choices because I wasn't scared. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't scared of like, I felt like, well, I'm tough enough to handle it. You see what I'm saying? Like as opposed to, you know, this other person who I might be doing this for or whatever the case may be, they might not be tough enough to handle whatever's going to come. And because I always felt tough enough to handle it, I would like put myself on a chopping block for other people, and in a people pleasing type of way, which I didn't understand was people pleasing. I just thought that I was loyal. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know codependence, we feel like we loyal people, but we're loyal to a fault, and sometimes we have to be loyal to ourselves before we can you know before we can be good to anybody else, basically. But I don't want to labor that point too long because, like I said, it's a lot of other points that I want to hit, and I don't want this video to be too long. But basically, yeah, like I said, I had faced a lot of, I had faced so many near-death experiences when I was young that I just wasn't scared of stuff that I, no, my defenses wasn't working no more, as far as, like I said, fear being that trigger warning system of telling you something's wrong. And that's another reason, like, think about how you even ended up in a situation dealing with the narcissist. You know what I'm saying? A lot of it was because you had developed, you know what I'm saying? Or for me, let me speak for myself. Um, I wasn't scared of, somebody hurting me. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't scared of, the red flags that I should have been scared of. You know what I'm saying? My defense mechanisms wasn't working no more because I had developed this toxic bravery, you know what I'm saying, or braveness about myself, to the point where, like I said, I just didn't have the same type of fears that a lot of other people had. So situations where I should have been pulling out of, uh, pulling out of the situation, or if situations where I should have, you know, really been paying attention to the red flags that somebody showed me or whatever the case may be, I felt like I was tough enough to handle whatever came, that kind of thing. So, like I said, I don't want to labor that too long, but um, I wrote down here, no longer afraid can equal recklessness. You know what I'm saying? And basically that's what I'm saying. So when you become so hardened, it's easy to become reckless. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you don't have wisdom. And that's why I said, it's cool to be tough, but but it's even better to be wise. And if you don't have wisdom to go along with that toughness, it can lead you into a recklessness, and that's where, um, I feel like that's where I lived for a long time, and I didn't even realize that that's where I was living at, because I hadn't, I didn't have the wisdom at that time. I didn't have the wisdom that I have now to realize, like, okay, just because you're tough enough to handle it, don't mean you should handle it, and don't mean that you should, just invite it into your life and that kind of thing. So, that's it can equal like I said right here, no longer being afraid can equal can equal to recklessness. And I know a lot of you guys know a lot of people that they super tough and they real like they super tough but dumb. You know what I'm saying? Just I don't mean to put it that way, but they super tough but do dumb shit and they get themselves caught up because they too tough for their own good. I was never necessarily like that because I always did. I was extremely intelligent, you know what I'm saying, but I still lacked wisdom. You know what I'm saying? You can be extremely intelligent and still lack wisdom. You know what I'm saying? And I was extremely intelligent, so I knew, like right from wrong, and I was very aware of certain situations. So it's like I knew how to move, you know, if there was danger, I knew how to move, but I should have been keeping myself away from the danger in the first place type thing. You see what I'm saying? I hope that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? So, what else did I write down? I said, feel, there was, when you develop that callousness, you know what I'm saying? You develop like a feeling of numbness. You know what I'm saying? So, in that numbness, uh, you still feel it's like you don't love yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, but the sad part about it is you can love everything around you so much to a fault to where, and that's where I loved everything. I loved everything and everybody around me more than I cared for myself. Like I said, I would put myself on the chopping block. If I love somebody and somebody tried to do something to that person or whatever the case may be, I would put myself on a chopping block. I would sacrifice myself to protect my loved ones. You know what I'm saying? And when I would look around a lot of situations, I would put myself like out there like that. But then a situation would arise where I would need somebody to get me the same way, and I never had that type of I ain't never get that type of love back. You know what I'm saying? So now that's toxic. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're giving yourself up to people, you casting your pearls before swine. You know what I'm saying? You're being loyal to people who ain't loyal to you, who won't ride for you. You know what I'm saying? So you start riding and you start doing all the, you become that for people that wouldn't, you know, that wouldn't put you out if you was on fire. You know what I'm saying? Like people that wouldn't show you no love, and people that don't show you any support, any empathy, none of that kind of stuff. They really just overlooking you, and but you're steadily putting yourself out there for that person. I guess seeking validation from that person. And I didn't even know that that's what that was at the time either. I had to go through experiences in life and understand what I was dealing with. So I hope what I'm saying to y'all, yeah, I hope y'all getting what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying? But uh, I also wrote down that we're supposed to face our fears. It goes back to what I was saying earlier. I don't think that we're not supposed to not have fears because fear is like a warning system. But us being believers in God and us being, we're supposed to have faith, you know what I'm saying, in our fear. Like so I think it's like how we handle our fears is where the problem lies. You know what I'm saying? So as a young man, I was handling my fears and just like running into burning buildings and stuff like that because I felt like I was tough enough to handle it. You know what I'm saying? But you start to, as you grow your relationship with God, and and that's one of the things that I can attest to, is that, like I said, even when I wasn't always walking with Him hand in hand, I always had faith in God. So my faith was also, it also gave me a sense of like security. And I think, that's what we're supposed to have in, when we're dealing with fearful situations. We're supposed to have faith that God is going to like pull us through that and work it out and all of that kind of stuff. And I felt like that, what I'm saying, as a kid, because I had experienced so many situations, you know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't necessarily like naturally just feel like that. I had to like go through the experiences of, a lot of, like I said, near death experiences, or a lot of like just violent situations, or or even if it wasn't just, necessarily just violent situations or anything like that. It was just, situations that really tested me, you know what I'm saying? And because I had gone through all of those situations, I had developed a sense of faith, because like, okay, prime example, I told you guys in another video that I had been through several situations where I had almost drowned. I'm gonna give y'all, some of the lighter, experiences. I had, so I had a big fear of deep water, what I'm saying, as a young man. But there was one particular time, well, actually there was two particular times, but there was one particular time where I really thought that I was, I was sinking. I was in deep water. I was actually at Ocean City here in Maryland. Um, and I'm on the boogie board, and I'm, all in love with one of my ex-girlfriends, and we're all vibing, and, and the boogie board ended up like shooting up in the air, and I sunk down. And when I sunk, I really like blacked out. I really started like going blank. And when I went blank, I had the fear of like, okay, I might not make it. And I sunk, and then I popped back up, and then I sunk again, and then I was able to like struggle, and I popped back up. And by the time I popped back up, like the third time, I had sunk down, and I just felt myself going like completely black. And once I hit the bottom, I felt myself going. But, I was at the bottom, and I was just kind of like at the bottom, just floating. And I got myself together, like, and I just, like, one last burst, and like pushed myself up, and I pushed off the ground, and I pushed myself all the way to the top. And once I got to the top, the lifeguards were up there, and they like grabbed me, pulled me in, and all of that kind of stuff. So I experienced a lot of situations like very similar like that happen. And then, just over the years of me developing and growing up, I had a lot of experiences. Even like as a young child, I had real bad asthma, and my asthma attacks would like scare me so bad that I thought that I was gonna, so because of that, because I had so many experiences like that, I literally felt like I had this sense of like, well, if God wanted me, right now, or if he, if there was something that, you know, like I felt like I had I'm not gonna say if he wanted me, because I don't want to play with God. It was in a very respectful way, you know what I'm saying? But it was more so like I had been through so many experiences where I could have been taken out of here. And there is a reason that God spared my life in all of those situations. So it made me feel like I had an assignment here. Is, what I'm saying? So when you develop that and you feel like you have an assignment here, then the fears, kind of dissipate. And now you like start focusing like I got laser focused on what my assignments was in life. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have the fears and like anymore because I had been through it, and because I had been through it, and God got me out of those situations. And when He got me out of those situations, I looked at it from a standpoint of obviously there's something that He spared me for. He spared me to do a job here. You know what I'm saying? So He could have took me a long time ago, and the fact that He let me, he gave me life and allowed me to continue to live and allowed me to continue to live in my purpose. And I mean, live in my purpose amongst His will. You know what I'm saying? um it's like there was no more fear. There was only faith that there was only faith that I was here on assignment, and that God had me until my assignment was up, or whatever the case may be. And and so my fear of a lot of things kind of dissipated, but there were certain things that I still didn't realize that I was fearful of. And I feel like you have to experience an ego death. And I think that one of the things that narcissistic abuse does is it gives you that ego death to the point where now, like before I experienced that whole situation, I was so uh, I, like camera shy. I didn't want to talk in front of the camera. I didn't want to talk in front of crowds. I didn't want to do any of this kind of like this right here. Go back to my first videos, like look at my demeanor from that time and look at my demeanor now. And I'm still nervous. I still like before I fire up the camera, I'm still like, I still get nervous. I still get, all of that kind of stuff. I'm still very camera shy. But I feel like, when God places a purpose in your life, He'll remove certain fears and allow you to do even the things that you don't realize that you can do. You know what I'm saying? So uh, that's one of the things that, like I said, I hope y'all understanding what I'm saying about fear. I really feel like fear is natural. We are supposed to feel it, but we are supposed to, as believers in God, and as chosen ones and all of that kind of stuff. I know it's a lot of different terms a lot of people like to use. Um, I like them all. Don't get me wrong. Like it's certain ones that I feel like definitely resonate with, my life experience, and chosen one is definitely one of them because of some of the things that happened in my own personal experience, and I'll definitely be sharing that with you guys, along the journey, and hoping that you guys can, kind of relate to what I'm saying. But I honestly feel like there is a necessity, there's a need for fear. Fear keeps you regulated in a lot of different ways. Like even, like I said, thinking about the narcissist, because they don't have the fear of lying and, all of that kind of stuff. It's like, think about, because they don't have that regulation, they are willing to do anything. They'll sit here and, tell a bold faced lie right in your face, knowing that you got the evidence sitting right in front of you. You know what I'm saying? That kind of thing. Like, and when you, like I said, fear, fear unregulated, and unregulated, that type of attitude unregulated will lead you down a destructive path, as it does with them. You know what I'm saying? Not having a fear of, jumping in bed with just anybody. You know what I'm saying? And magical thinking of like, oh, I'm not gonna catch anything. I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna do that. That kind of thing. Like, all of those things that they do is because they are, they don't have the same anxieties and fears that they have a host of other stuff going on, but they don't have the things that will regulate them to say, hey, don't do that. Hey, don't do this. Like, I shouldn't do this. Maybe that was like cut off in them a long time ago. So I feel like, there's a way to handle fear. You know what I'm saying? And once we gain our wisdom, and once we gain the awareness and and realize that this is definitely a spiritual warfare, and you go back to putting your faith in God, because that's basically what I had to do. And the reason that one of the main reasons why I did this video is because like I said, I had a long period of time where I hadn't experienced any fear, because I had been through so many different experiences. But then when I went through the discard with the narcissist and I started learning about narcissism, I found myself right in that moment being fearful. And I was fearful in a supernatural sense, not like in a physical sense of like me being afraid of her or her family or any of that kind of stuff. Like I was with all that. You know what I'm saying? I was like with the smoke when, I was actually thinking from a negative standpoint at that time, and wanted revenge, and wanted to see them hurt, and wanted, all of that kind of stuff. But I just realized that that wasn't gonna help the situation at all. You know what I'm saying? So I was able to like curb curb my appetite for revenge at that time. But it was definitely up. You know what I'm saying? It was up with me at that point, because I felt like they returned my love with evil. You know what I'm saying? Like I put myself out there and tried to show these people so much love and all of that kind of stuff, and they traded that and gave me evil in return. You know what I'm saying? So that it hurt me that I extended myself to these people, and they basically gave me their ass to kiss in the long run. You know what I'm saying? So, but like I was saying, I found myself fearful in a supernatural way of like, oh my God, I'm entangled with the devil. You know what I'm saying? I just had a baby with the devil. Like I was really like going through some things spiritually, and like in a supernatural sense of like, how could people be so evil? And I had never faced the type of evil that I had just saw dealing with the narcissists and their family and all of that kind of stuff. So I was really like, I was in that moment fearful of, you know, why I was being attacked. Why was I under this type of attack? And why did these people treat me the way that they did when I was nothing but good to these people? I had never faced evil head on in the way that I saw with them. You know what I'm saying? That I saw in that situation. Now looking back on it, I can see that I've been battling, like I've been in a spiritual battle my entire life. And so this isn't the first time that the devil has tried to attack me using one of his people or anything like that. But just in that moment, I had this level of fear that was kind of like, I mean, it was very short lived. I think I'm gonna do a book, man. Which I think, if I do a book called 24 Hours of Fear, and just kind of like explain, you know, how that situation went, because I literally went from, being fearful in a spiritual and a supernatural way to remembering, my place in God, and remembering that He was going to hold my hand, and He's always been there with me, and all I needed to do was keep my own faith, and keep my faith in Him, and keep believing that He was going to change my circumstances, and He was going to fight for me. He was going to be there in my situation. And not only that, that He saw what happened. You know what I'm saying? He saw what these people did to me, and that He will repay it. Like, I don't have to necessarily take that vengeance that I was talking about earlier into my own hands, because He's going to repay it for me. You know what I'm saying? So once I remembered who I was, in God, and once I remembered that He's always been here with me, He's always had my back, He's always, pulled me out of situations where things were, things could have gotten a lot uglier, you know what I'm saying? And I've been in a lot of ugly situations too, don't get me wrong, but things, without Him, things could have been much worse. And so I went back to believing, that faith of a mustard seed. I went back to remembering, you know, to keep God first in my situation. And as soon as I changed my outlook on, you know, being fearful of like the devil and demons and, oh my God, this person's a demon and this, that, and the third, but realizing that God has control over all of this, you know what I'm saying? And all I need to do is keep my faith in Him and let Him fight my battles for me. And, I'll always come out victorious because He tells me that, no weapon formed against us shall prosper. And so basically, and what's crazy is, even so, I was being attacked and attacked and attacked and attacked and attacked. And one day I just like, you know, remembered who I was, and then, and remembered that I needed to keep my faith in God. And I was also still learning about, and educating myself on narcissism and things like that. And, throughout that time, I ended up saying a prayer directly to the individual that I was dealing with at that time, and who had been like constantly attacking me. And I sent her a text message, but it was more so a prayer. And in the prayer, I was just going through things like, I know who you are. I understand, the Jezebel spirit and this, that, and the third. And then not only am I like, you know, calling her out and calling, the spirit, the demons and stuff like that out, but I was also, in the middle of it, just letting her know that, my faith is in God. God's got my back. He's not going to, he will never leave me or forsake me. you know, um, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. And just realizing that, yeah, the weapons will be formed against you, you know what I'm saying? But he didn't say that these people weren't going to attack me. He never said that. Like, it's no way, it's nowhere in the Bible that says you won't be under attack. But he's saying that if you keep your faith in Him, that even those weapons that are formed against you, they won't prosper. You know what I'm saying? So that's one of the things that I just had to remember, and I had to tap back into my faith in God and just let Him fight my battles for me. And once what's crazy about it is, once I did that and once I said that prayer, like, that's literally probably the last real interaction that I had. And she just, kind of went ghost. And I had, not, she eventually came back and started hoovering and all of that kind of stuff again. But it bought me enough time to really start to focus on my own healing journey. Before, I was still kind of, fearful of like what was going to happen in the supernatural realm. And I was, kind of, like I said, wondering why I was being attacked spiritually in this way, all of that kind of stuff. And, you know, like I said, I went through a period of like, well, nah, I need to, I wanted to pray. And, I had gone through like a period of isolation and staying to myself. Didn't want to, um, it was literally just me, my son, and, narcissism videos and talking to God. And throughout that whole period, you know, I started to feel like I was in control again. You know what I'm saying? I started to feel like I was in control. I felt like God was in control, but I felt like I was in control of my own self again. And I had started separating and breaking that trauma bond with that person because, of my faith in God. And I was able to just kind of like walk away, go cold turkey, and everything that I needed, He provided. You know what I'm saying? So I honestly, like I said, just wanted to drop this video. It's almost an hour long. I'm probably going to do a part two because there's still so much that I have to talk about this topic. But I will definitely come back and chop it up with you guys soon. I love you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the content. I hope you guys get what I'm saying. I will definitely do a follow up, and I got some other video ideas and topics coming, and a few requests coming, things like that. If you are seeking one-on-one, coaching, definitely send me an email, or you can put it in the comment section. I read everything, but it's better if you guys send me an email and let me know when, and I can send you the rates and all of that kind of stuff. I am very fair, and I really want to see you guys heal and be helped. So I will not just be, taking your money and all of that kind of stuff, and not giving you the value and all of that kind of stuff. So I hope you guys do book your one-on-one sessions. If you are on Facebook, I know a lot of you guys have shut your social medias down while you're dealing with the narcissists and things like that. But if you do still have an open and live Facebook page and you want to join the Facebook group, I encourage you to do so. And y'all start interacting in the Facebook group, man. It's like a lot of us have gone through a lot of different experiences, and you have a whole support network that's right there in the Facebook that you guys can kind of bounce ideas off of and things like that, the same way you do in the comment section. Like, so I feel like that's even a better platform for us to kind of engage with each other a lot better. So utilize the platforms, man, for what they're there for. um that's my video, y'all. I love you guys. I will talk to you guys soon. I hope this video resonated with you guys, and I hope that you find value in this video just like all the other ones. I love you guys, and I will talk to y'all soon. See ya.